It was annoying, never having been to the Mediterranean. But I had something exciting to tell Lena, too. I waited anxiously for her to ask if anything new had happened back here in Norway. But she didn't. On Crete, there was a speedboat she'd taken to a little island, she told me, and her mom had tried being dragged along behind it with some kind of balloon in the air.
Anyway, did I tell you how hot it was?
She asked. I nodded. Lena went on about a stray dog called Porto, who might have had rabies, about some girls she'd played with, who hardly dared to do any balancing games at all, and about having pancakes for breakfast. Eventually, I couldn't wait any longer. I jumped off the highest part of the breakwater. Lena finally stopped talking. She squinted at me suspiciously. You're joking. I shook my head. My neighbor got up. I could quite clearly tell that this was one of those things she'd have to see before she could believe it. And see it she would. Thanks for the food, I called to Mom with my mouth full. Then I grabbed my towel from where it was hanging on the banister. The L-shaped breakwater in Matildawick Cove is made of massive rocks and has a swimming area in the crook of its arm. In the winter, the storms blow in fine sand, which we used to make sandcastles and other fortifications. But when Lena went on vacation that summer, I'd been allowed to go with Minda and Magnus and their friends to the outside of the breakwater, where it's highest and the water below is deep and cold. It was almost like the beginning of a new life. Lena's the champion of Matildawick Cove when it comes to jumping off tall things. Nobody has less fear in their stomach, or less sense in their head, as Magnus says. But even Lena's never jumped from the breakwater. She doesn't float very well. Throwing Lena into the fjord is more or less like dropping an anchor, says Grandpa. It was quite a big deal that there was something I could jump from that she couldn't. I could tell that Lena wasn't pleased. There I was, on the highest rock on the breakwater. It was a crack of dawn, and it was only 60 degrees outside. Are you sure you're psyched up enough for this? Lena asked me seriously. She was leaning over one of the other rocks, wearing her jacket and a Mediterranean scarf. I nodded. I'd jumped in the water lots of times while she'd been away, but it had always been at high tide. Now the tide was out, and it was farther to jump. I could see the bottom. The wind buffeted my swimming shorts. For a moment, I wondered whether it was really worth it. But then I saw Lena, back from Crete, leaning over the rock and not believing I could do it. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. 1, 2, 3. Kersplash! Came the sound as I hit the water, and then swoosh as the bubbling surface closed over my head. The first time I'd gone down into the deep like this, I thought I was going to drown. Now I knew that all I had to do was thrash my legs around like crazy and hold my breath. I puffed as I shot back through the surface of the water and into the summer morning air. Lena had climbed up onto the highest rock and was looking down at me skeptically. I smiled triumphantly. I'd shown her this time. Next thing I knew, Lena was putting one foot in front of the other and slapping her hands against her face to psych herself up. She howled. Then she flew through the air in her jeans, sweater, jacket, scarf, and sneakers. Kersplash! It was only as she leaped from the breakwater that Lena properly landed home from her vacation. Talking about smoothies on Crete doesn't quite have the same shine to it when you've almost drowned in Matildawick Cove. She resurfaced, after what seemed like an endlessly long time, and then disappeared again with a bloop. If Grandpa hadn't come along with this fishing gaff, I don't know how it all would have ended. He used the long pole with a hook on its end to pull.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.